When we talk about what God is like, who God is, and the character of God, we're talking about it not because it's important just that we have the right idea about God, but it's important because the Word becomes flesh in our life. The words and ideas that we believe in our mind and in our heart, they come out in the way that we live. And when we have bad ideas about who God is, it can cause us to live inconsistent with who God really is. But when we have good ideas about who God is, then we at least know what we're supposed to look like. And so it's important that we try to wrestle with Scripture to understand who God is. And maybe the most important thing that I could say about what God is like is that God is like Jesus. In the Gospel of John, that's one of the main themes that John gets at, that Jesus gets at in his teaching, is that when you see Him, you see the Father. When you see Jesus acting in the way that He interacts with people, that's what God is like. But He goes further than that. He says that when He came to earth, He came to make God known to us. And so there's an implication there that what we knew about God before Jesus came, it was incomplete. It wasn't the full picture of who God is. And so Abraham and Moses and David and Elijah, they all had ideas about who God was, who God is. But it wasn't the full picture. It wasn't the best picture of God. Jesus reveals to us truly who God is. And so when we see Him loving those that were unlovable in the rest of the world, that's what God is like. When we see Him confronted by people that were caught in sin and He extends to them mercy and compassion, that's what God is like. When we see Him having conversations with people who those in the respected religious community of the Jews would not be seen having conversations with, like people like the Samaritan woman, then we know that that's what God is like, that God's message and God's favor and God's blessing, it's not for any one group of people, it's not for any type of person, it's not for people that just have their lives together, it is for everyone. That's what Jesus teaches us about who God is. And when we know that, then we know that we have good news for the world. We have good news to share with others. Because a lot of times we've encountered people, and maybe even ourselves, we've believed things about God that just aren't true. We've believed that God is vengeful. We've believed that God is on the verge of withdrawing His presence from us. That if we do the wrong things or say the wrong things or believe the wrong things, that God will withdraw His favor and blessing from us. But the good news that Jesus tells us, no, that's not who God is. That when things look their bleakest, when situations are their darkest, that God then enters the picture like Jesus did by entering the world. That's what God is like. We let Jesus have the final say as Christians. We let Jesus have the final say who God is, and then we know how we can talk to others about Him.